there's three of us that started Skycanner in 2001. We were IT contractors in our background, and really the decision to launch an online travel company was based on our desire to travel. And in particular, I had a job where I was only working 2 weeks on, 2 weeks off, so I was travelling out to see my brother in the Alps, and just built myself a tool to compare the budget airlines at that time, which included EasyJet and Ryanair, but also people like Buzz and Duo. We built up quite slowly. We didn't have investment. We built organically, very much word of mouth, very much funding it all ourselves. And come 2007, by which time we were based in Leith in Edinburgh, we decided to seek external investment. We searched round all over European VCs, ended up with a Scottish VC who have been part of Skycanner for the last 2 years. Well, when we very first started to build the business, I didn't have prior experience of doing that, and it was really daunting. Almost it was the hardest thing about Skycanner. Actually, we built a site that we thought would be useful, and we didn't even know about the referral models of making revenues. We figured that the tool would be useful enough that we'd figure out some way of making money from it. And as it happened, we then met someone who said how, well, you can make money from the site. So the first step was being driven by the passion to make a useful online tool. Yeah, we're about 100% growth in traffic and more than 100% growth in revenue. Okay. That's been, I mean, as you get bigger, it's harder to grow as much, but I'd really like to see that continue for the next couple of years. And I think the way that we've addressed getting non-technical skills, Frank's built up a really capable sales and marketing set of teams, and that's helped bring in more than just our word of mouth and search engine optimization means of customers acquisition.
I mean, the company was, as Gareth has just described, very much founded on technical excellence. A big part of the expansion and the growth from 2008 through last year was to try to become more sophisticated and throw more resource at the whole sales and marketing side of things, the revenue acquisition, the client acquisition side and the user acquisition side of things. And that's really what I was kind of brought on to try to add some impetus behind from 2008. And we've had a very successful year in 2009, despite the travel industry itself not having the most stellar of years. Skycanner itself has had a very, very strong trading year in 2009. Very encouraging start to 2010. So no, things are going well.
The customer doesn't pay any addition to the airline price, but we get essentially a distribution or a marketing budget referral, very much like Google, but often our conversion rates of people coming out of our site will be as high as 10–20%, and even higher than that, which is a lot higher than you can get through text-based adverts.
Well, so it's probably fair to say that one of the things that we've tried to bring into the business is more diversification in the revenue lines. When I joined in late 2008, probably 100% of the revenue that the business was making was through those acquisition, through those referral fees. That is still a significant part of our revenue. Probably 70–75% of our revenue comes still from the direct airline deals and the online travel agency deals who pay us that referral. However, we have introduced display advertising onto the site, which was a departure for Skycanner, which makes a significant contribution. We've also brought in a number of ancillary products. So although Skycanner is fundamentally about flight search, we have partnered up in the hotels area, in the car hire area, in the holidays area, with significant partners in those areas and across most of our international markets. And between display advertising and those ancillary channels, they now contribute a significant amount of our revenue, although still airlines and OTAs are our biggest clients. Through the social media channels, or social media as a potential strategy for us, is one which is very much in focus at the beginning of 2010. You have to kind of remember that we have run all of this, the commercial disciplines, expanding our marketing channels really very quickly over the last year. Above the line, offline television advertising was very much our focus Q4 last year. Social media, as I could guess it is for a lot of companies, late 2009, 2010, is really coming into focus. We have presence within the social media channels. We're very active on Twitter, we're very active on Facebook. What constitutes our ongoing strategy for social media and how we can properly engage with social media is in focus for Q1 2010, and more of that to follow, I guess. Well, I mean, we went through a traditional, although fairly quick and truncated process of agency shortlisting, both on the creative side of things and on the media side. We had, through Jason's contacts, put us in touch with a lot of the bigger players in London, but we had also asked agencies in Scotland to pitch for the business. And I have to say that New Haven, on the creative side of things, won the business absolutely on merit, on the quality of their response to what it was that we were looking for, and the same can be said of Feather Brooksbank. So although we ended up with 2 Scottish agencies on our doorstep, that was more by accident than design. It was to do with the merit of their responses to the brief.
There's a problem of scale. You need to be a certain size in order for it to make sense, and you need to be addressing the mass market rather than something quite niche. But there is another aspect, which is because of the increased measurability you get with online, and therefore the greater interest from companies, that's actually pushed prices up to the extent that it could be argued that some of the offline channels are actually better value.
Scotland was chosen, well, number one, because it's where we are, but number two, through our own knowledge of it and the advice that we were getting from specifically our media agency, that Scotland is quite an easy area in terms of television to isolate and to measure, using the tools that we have through Google Analytics, through Hitwise, and through some pre and post kind of brand research that we're conducting. We are able to, with pretty reasonable confidence, say that any uplift in traffic and any uplift in brand recognition that we get through that test campaign in Scotland is to do with the television campaign, because there's not an awful lot else influencing it just now. So that's why Scotland was chosen, just purely because of the ability to measure and isolate the effect. It depends very much on the results of the test. The test is not one which is done in isolation. The test has been done absolutely with a view to scalability, and with a view to a UK and potentially international rollout. However, that will only be done if the results of the test are supportive of that. We've just stopped the campaign. We came off air on Sunday. We will be analysing the data along with our agencies across the next few weeks, and we'll be making a decision based on that. Early indications are very, very positive. The advert was received very well, and actually the traffic onto the site had a very significant uplift in Scotland. So indications are good. Intentions would be to roll out to the UK, but we have to wait till all of the data is in to help us to make that decision.
I'd love Skycanner to be in the top 100 websites of the world, and I think that's eminently doable for a travel website, because, for instance, Google made 25 to 35% of their revenues from online travel, And it would be brilliant that if a Scottish website was in that list, because there isn't one at the moment.